Hey, this is Jesse with Create This. Today I'm going to teach you how to fix a surging Yamaha EF2000iS. What is surging? Surging is when you are running the machine, the generator, and the idle won't stay steady. It goes constantly, okay? I'm going to tell you right now, the problem is probably your pilot jet. I'm going to show you how to fix it. What you're going to need is 3 different screwdrivers: a regular Phillips head screwdriver, a regular flathead screwdriver, and possibly a smaller flathead screwdriver. These come in handy, but not necessarily required. You're also going to need a 10mm box wrench and a 10mm socket on a ratcheting wrench. You will also need a standard sewing needle. Okay, this is like a hand sewing needle, and you're going to use this to clear out, to poke a hole in the debris that has clogged up your pilot jet. All right, ready? Let's get started. There it is, there's your surging. Now if we turn on power save mode, it gets even worse, right? So normally that would be able to hold an idle in power save mode, but right now it can't. And so I can compensate for it by pulling out the choke a little bit. So there we are at about 3/4 choke. But even then it's not perfect, right? All right, there it goes, it's spun down. So now we'll just spin it around here. What we're going to do is we're going to remove this back panel. So you'll need a screwdriver, Phillips head. I think there's just 2 of them. And then you just pull, it comes off. Okay, so this is our carb right here. And let me change the camera angle so you can see this. All right, so I have propped up the generator on a table so that I can put this on a tripod so that I've got a steady hand here. So this whole assembly right here is the carburetor, right? This is the float bowl right here, and this nut removes the float bowl. Now, it's a little hard to see, but right here, there is a tube, and that's a drain tube for the float bowl. So the first thing we're gonna do is there's a little screw on that, and we're gonna loosen that screw so that we can drain whatever's left in the float bowl. I'm actually curious to see what's in there because I turned off the petcock and let it run itself dry. So we're gonna remove all of that, but let's drain it first. All right, there's a better angle. So you can see the screw right here that we have to loosen up to drain this. And I'm gonna get a cup so that I can just drain the fuel into some sort of a container. Okay, got my cup. So I'm just gonna take this hose, put it into the cup, got my screwdriver, and we'll drain some fuel. We'll see if anything comes out. Let me get a different screwdriver there because I don't want to strip that. It doesn't want to open. Use a flathead. There we go. Open it up. And there's some fuel coming out. So I think for storage, you should always do this. You should always drain it. Even if you're letting the petcock run the float bowl dry like I do, you should probably always drain your fuel. Okay, so at this point I'm going to remove the entire carb and take it apart and see if I can clean it that way. So I need to get this big plastic cover thing off. So I think there are bolts on the bottom here that hold it on. Looks like there's one here too. It also looks like some of the ones along the exhaust port side are keeping it on as well. So let me get rid of those. Okay, and also the handle here. These alternate, so there's one on the back side as well. Like that one's also on the back side. And then this one's on the front again. And over here on the other side. I guess this is the intake. A couple of screws there as well. Now you can see that gasket is moving just fine there, so that's cool. So we're just going to try to lift it up and over. Maybe I can work a screwdriver in there to kind of loosen it up a little bit. This gasket just doesn't want to seem to come off. Get a screwdriver in there. Work it around. There we go. And you might have some screws come out from the handle, so don't lose those. I just had that one come out. Okay, so now we got a little bit more room to maneuver here, which is nice. So these bolts hold on the entire carb, and they look like they're 10 millimeter as well. Most everything's 10 millimeter on this thing, which is nice. That's maybe the crankcase breather here. Probably a vacuum hose. Not real sure. All right. Now this is the solenoid that electronically adjusts the idle, or servo, or whatever the hell it is. I've heard that there's a way to remove that. There's a little clip back here in the back. Maybe if I remove this, I can get to it. Let's see. I would like that wire to come off. I don't want to have to remove that servo mechanism. I hear that it's a pain to get back in. So I would much prefer to just unplug it. Very difficult to get a screwdriver in there. Not sure I have any long screwdrivers that'll fit that. I disconnect the air cleaner here. Good thing I'm filming this. I'm never gonna remember where all this shit goes. All right, remove the air cleaner, see if there's a bolt inside. There is. Okay, so now I can get a screwdriver in there. If you have a really long screwdriver, you may not have to go through that annoying process, but I did. Get out of there. Okay, there's like a little hose that's clipped right there. Oh, that's the choke cable. Choke cable's attached. Okay, but I don't really need that. So the important thing here is this is the cable that attaches to the throttle on the carb. So now that I've got this loose, I should be able to just reach in here and unclip that and pull it out. Easier said than done, probably. But with a little bit of gymnastics, there it is. Okay, and then we kind of need to disconnect this too. This is like a little, okay, there we go. Okay, so there's our cable, so we didn't have to break anything. And now we can remove the carb entirely. Let's take these bolts off. And I'm just gonna go ahead and put my cap back on here. It's making me nervous having all that fuel sloshing around near my face. I don't know why. Okay. Can use a bit more of an extension on that. There we go. Got just enough. Okay, so that's the air intake. Comes right off. And that's a nice, it looks like a rubber gasket, so I think that's reusable, which is pretty cool. And then this is the carb, and it just slides right off. Now you have to raise up the fuel tank a little bit to slide it off. It's kind of a tight fit. But if you manhandle it, it does come off. Okay, and then this is your choke. And so the choke comes off with a screw right there. Right there. Okay. Maybe one right here too. There's a little bracket. Choke cable comes right out. And then you got a little little clamp right here, a little finger clamp. So just move that up off the cable. I'm kind of going quick, so I hope the camera can see all of this. Twist to break the seal. There we go. And then it should just come right off. Okay, and there's the carb. So, as far as I can tell, we didn't have to break anything. I'm leaking a little bit of fuel here. It looks like it might be from the fuel tank. Crap. Yeah, okay, so that's fuel from the fuel tank. I'm gonna have to plug that with something because I didn't drain my fuel tank first. That was dumb. That was real dumb, Jesse. Take a bolt, maybe, stick it in there. Yeah, there we go. Take a bolt, stick it in there, put the clamp on. Might keep it from leaking, maybe. Maybe. If we're lucky. So, okay, so we got our choke off. I am now going to disassemble this, I believe, and look in there. But while we got it on camera here, let's take that float bowl off again. So this time last year, this is 2020, right? This time last year, I had never disassembled a carburetor or repaired one or anything. I have done like 3 of them now. Seems like repairing carbs is just kind of my thing now. Didn't say I'm good at it. I've just done it a few times. Okay. Okay, so here's the carb on the bench. I have done some additional research because I hate fail videos. I like success videos. Not much of a how-to if you don't show people how to fix something. So I learned that I'm a dumbass. I already knew that, and my partner certainly already knew it, but you know, I have to remind myself occasionally. So this thing right here that I took off and I cleaned, this is called a jet. It's not called a seat, it's called a jet. The seat is on the float here, so it's right below the float. So I can show you that piece right here. Let me just make sure that's focusing. Okay, I can show you that piece right here. The float comes off by just sliding out this pin and lifting up very gently. You want to be very gentle with this piece. There's your needle on the end of the float, this piece right here. And the seat for the needle, the seat is right there. okay? It's that little copper thing that the needle goes into, okay? So I will stop using the incorrect terminology, try to stop being a dumbass, but it's really hard. Years of practice. All right, so we'll put that back in. It only goes in one way. You want to be very gentle. You don't want to apply a lot of pressure to the needle because you can ruin it. Okay, so this is the jet. That's the main jet. Okay. What I've learned is that often when there's surging issues with a carb, it's the pilot jet that is the problem, and the pilot jet in this case is right there. So we have to remove this assembly to get to this, to clean it. So let's go ahead and do that. Broke that one free. Now I'm going to break the other one free. Trying very hard not to strip anything, but I just did. When in doubt, put it in a vise maybe? Probably going to regret this, but let's try an impact wrench. Oh, there it goes. Wow, I can't believe that worked. Springs are probably going to explode, but do what we can here. This is the scary part. So there's a spring there. I'm gonna try to capture it. That wasn't so bad. Okay, that wasn't bad at all. Get those guys out. Okay, so now we have access to that pilot jet right there. Okay, and again, we don't want to strip anything if we can possibly help it. Here we go. Actually came out without too much trouble. Very happy about that. Again, this is the pilot jet. Okay. Okay, I have swapped out my lens with a macro lens so that you can hopefully see this a little bit better. So this is the pilot jet, and looks like it has holes on the side here, and then I think it also has a hole in the end right there, and I believe that is the hole that usually gets clogged up. I'm not actually sure if that is a hole or not. It kind of looks like it. I'm looking at it through this macro lens, and it looks like there's a hole there. I don't think I have anything small enough for it though. All right, check that out. So I went upstairs because none of my torch cleaners worked, and I said, Tracy, what do we have that's smaller than that? And she said, what about a sewing needle? And so I took the end of the sewing needle and I shoved it in there, and I'll be damned if it didn't clean it out. How cool is that? So it was totally clogged, and let me just see if we can get some light to go in there so that you can see. I think maybe you can see that there. There's a little bit of light showing through. Yeah, look at that. Maybe if I do that, kind of close it up. It's really hard working with something that small. But anyway, It is open. I can shine a light in there now. That is definitely an open hole. You get to see what it looked like before, and it's totally open now. So there's holes on the sides, and that's the one that gets clogged up. Now on the back side of it, it looks like there's a check ball in there. I did stick one of those torch cleaners down and I tried to make the check ball move. I would not recommend doing that. I think I dented mine. That might cause me problems later on. I would leave that the hell alone. But what you can do is find a sewing needle and stick it in that hole and unclog it. I bet when we put all of this back together, this generator is going to work now. So let's go ahead and do that and start reassembling. All right, so the first step is going to be to reinstall the pilot jet. And I don't know why I didn't use this lens earlier. It makes this much clearer. You can see much better what's going on. So just kind of drop that down in there. You want to get this fairly tight, but you don't want to strip it. So hopefully that's good enough. We'll see. Next, let's reinstall those pillars. So these pillars just kind of sit down in here like this, and like that. And then I took some photos before attempting this, so I'm probably going to have to refer back to them in just a second. But this basically goes on top like this. Okay, I checked my photos, and it appears that this spring thing here needs to go actually inside this bracket. So we're gonna probably have to compress that spring a little bit and push it down in there. Easier said than done, but it's doable. All right, there we go. And then for the studs here, there's a little washer that goes on them. So there's two washers. There's a split washer, lock washer, and then there's a regular washer. So we're just going to put those down, screw them in. Choke is still spring loaded. This one appears to be still spring loaded as well. Yeah, I think we're okay. So now we're going to tighten these down. And again, being very careful not to strip our screws. Probably the hardest part of any project like this. Not stripping the damn screws. I'm sure there is a torque for this, but other than a parts diagram, I couldn't find any information about rebuilding these damn things, so I'm kind of winging it, guys, folks, people. All right, there we go. Okay, let's get this reinstalled as quickly as we can because I can't wait to test it. I think this is going to work. I have a very high degree of confidence because that hole was plugged completely. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do here is we're going to reattach the choke cable, I believe. Okay, so I believe this little plate goes on right here like this, and we put the nut in, or the bolt in right there. The wire gets fed through. We might actually have to remove that bolt in order to clamp it properly. Okay, wire gets fed through this little brass nut. Okay, and then I'm gonna get it started by hand. Tighten it down the rest of the way. Okay. Tighten this one down as well. And I want to make sure it doesn't rotate, so I'm going to kind of grab it as I tighten it. Don't want that coming loose. Okay, that should be good. I hope. Next, we want to reattach our fuel line. So here's our fuel line. We kind of pinched that guy off with a bolt earlier. So we're gonna pull that bolt out. Might have to screw it out. Okay, I'm gonna put my finger over it as quickly as I can because I don't want to lose any fuel. All right, and I'm gonna put that back on the nipple here. So this is the fuel intake line. Right there. Get that guy back on. Get the little hand clamp. Oh. All right, get him on. Good. Okay, and at this point, I'm going to go ahead and reattach the float bowl because I feel myself touching that a lot, and I don't want to break it. So the bowl will protect it if I can get it on there. All right. Tighten that down. Okay. Let's see. Next, we'll lift up the gas tank a bit and slide the carb back onto its mounts. Try to anyway. So first of all, you want to make sure that you've still got your gasket. So there's my gasket right there. It's still in pretty good shape. I actually don't know if you can buy a gasket kit for this. I looked before I started this project and I couldn't find them for sale. Maybe they have them for sale somewhere, I don't know. It would be nice if you could. You can find new carbs, but I had a hard time finding a gasket kit, oddly enough. Okay, so once that's back on, now I want to deal with this cable. Now, I don't remember exactly how it was routed, but I'm pretty sure it went through this little white thing. I don't know if you can see that. You probably can't. So there's a little white thing right here, a little white clip. It routes through that clip. So I'm just going to do that. There we go. Okay. And then, if you'll remember, it connects inside this weird thing here. So we're going to maneuver this until it comes out a little bit, gives us some access to the electronics, and then we're just going to plug it in until it clicks. Okay. And then put it back. Now, for the hard part, we need to reinstall the screws that mount it. And I need to remember which ones they are. I believe it's these guys. Normally I would take pictures, but since I'm filming, I could always go back and watch the video if I wanted to. All right. This is going to be the tricky part. You got to get them in there in the back without them falling down. It was way easier than I thought it would be. One more. Okay. Those don't have to be super tight. It's just a shroud. It's an electronics shroud. Probably keeps the electronics from being cooked and little else. Okay, there's that. Next, our air cleaner assembly is going to go back on. Take a moment to look at your gasket and just clean it up a little bit if it's got some rough spots. A little bit of my gasket came off. You can see a little bit of the metal there, but I think it'll be okay because I think there's enough mating surface around it that's still intact. I guess we'll find out. So I'm just going to put that back on there, and this bolt is going to need to go back on. And I'm just taking a guess here, but I'm guessing it's this one because it's because this is going to go over top of it, and this has to screw into it. So, okay, my bad. There's a bolt back there. That's the bolt that I need to put in. Okay. I'm a little slow, but I get there eventually. Okay, and then if we remember, there was another bolt on this side. It's probably this one. Okay, grab our air filter, put that guy back in there, and put the cover back on. Goes like that. That filter should be a little bit wet with oil. Mine is not as wet as it should be probably because it's been sitting out. All right, tighten that up. Good deal. Okay, and our valve cover vent, crankcase vent, we're gonna plug that in. I believe that's what that is. And that doesn't have a clamp or anything. It just goes on. Okay, because it's a vacuum line probably. All right, our little cappity thing. Lift up. What have I done? Wire just needs to come over a tad. So I feel like you don't want to pinch your wire here. I might have screwed up. Maybe the wire goes on top. Okay, it looks to me like this wire, I do have it routed incorrectly, it looks like. Looks like it should have been coming out on this side. So, let me see. Get a little bit more slack there. All right, that's better. So it should be coming out like that. So it comes out on that part of the cap there. Like so. All right. Now we are going to put our nuts on for the intake here. I don't think there are any washers or anything for these. They're pretty straightforward. So hand thread them on. Be careful about the one in the back. You don't want to drop it. Okay. Tighten them down. Carb assembly appears to be on. That appears to be on. Make sure it's tight. Yeah, there we go. I think that is everything. Cap was a little loose. There, much better. I think that's everything. Let's make sure the choke actuation works. Yeah, beautiful. Very nice. Possibly a little too much bend there. I'm not sure it matters though. I can't really get it. I just won't push it in all the way. Maybe I'll adjust it later. Okay, so at this point, I am really anxious to see if this worked. So why don't we crank it up and see what happens? So we'll turn this around on half a handle. Probably not a good plan. And we will turn on the fuel. Pull out the choke. Give it one pump. Two. There we go. Look at that. Choke is all the way in. Economy mode. No blips. Is that a beautiful sight or what? All right, so I will reassemble the rest off camera. You saw it. All you need is some basic hand tools. 10mm wrench, 10mm socket with an extension, Phillips head screwdriver, flathead screwdriver, maybe a smaller flathead screwdriver, and a sewing needle. And you can fix a surging issue with a Yamaha EF2000iS inverter. It takes a little bit of time. You'll spend a couple of hours on it, but you don't have to pay a dime. I'm Jesse with Create This. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.